What's a sound you heard when you were young that you no longer hear? The white noise sound of the TV when a channel had no reception. The absolute obliteration coming from THX intro. Camera flash charging sound. Removed. Weird waterbed sounds. The high-pitched whine of a CRT television/monitor. The telephone ringing with an actual metal bell, not a recorded sound played through a speaker. Dot matrix printer printing. The ka-chunk of credit card imprint machines. In elementary school, we'd watch movies on projectors with film reels. So, the sounds of a film projector and also the white screens they'd pull down. The daily arrival and departure of a steam locomotive. Yes, I'm that old, but it was the most satisfying, powerful, unforgettable sound for a little kid. They were like huge living, breathing beasts. Dial-up connection. Call me now for your free reading, Miss Cleo. Remember falling asleep with the TV on and waking up to that weird colored picture with a beep. We lived right next to a huge field and across the road from Lake Michigan, so on a summer night there would be a million crickets singing, and I could smell the lake through the open window right by my bed. Such a peaceful place, just thinking about it gives me the feels. The CRT warming up when you turn the TV on, and the speakers popping along. Miss that epoxy, dust, vacuum tube, Bakelite smell too. VHS tapes rewinding, CDs skipping. My grandma or grandpa's voice. The invalid phone number tone. At the tone, the time will be 6:15 and 20 seconds. Beep. The whir, click, of a cassette player as you rewind, play, play. Trying to find the song you want. My mom calling me to come in the house for dinner. My mom telling me to wake up and get ready for school. You've got mail. The sound of a mechanical cash register. Like a 1930s National. Rotary phone pulses. The sound of a packed arcade and in particular pinball machines. Now I'm middle-aged, I'm seriously eyeing a used pinball machine for my office. Here's a little more obscure one. In the days before cable, you used an antenna to pull in TV signals. If you lived in a remote enough area, that antenna was on your rooftop, rather than just being rabbity or sitting on top of the TV itself. If you lived in an even more remote area, the transmitters for the various channels you could pull in weren't necessarily on the same tower or even in the same geographic location, so you might have to turn the antenna to face the right direction each time you changed between channels. Most houses had motorized roof antennas, connected by wire to a palm-sized dial that sat next to the TV. You'd tune from, say, channel 3 to channel 5 on the TV, and then you'd turn the antenna dial to the position, say, north-northeast or 2 o'clock or thereabouts, that you knew was correct for channel 5. The motor on the antenna would activate and turn the antenna to the correct position, and then you'd watch the TV and make small adjustments to the position of it until you got the best signal. As a kid, my bedroom was just below the spot on the roof where the antenna was. I'd get sent to bed at 8 o'clock or 9 p.m. and my parents would stay up later watching TV in the basement, 2 floors below. I'd hear the antenna motor make its little grinding sound, and I'd know that my parents had decided to watch something on a different channel. I guess if I had paid enough attention, I could have figured out how much antenna movement there was between each pair of stations, and I could have deduced from the amount of time the motor was active which channel they were changing from and to. Then again, there were really only 3 channels at the time, so it wouldn't have mattered that much. A manual typewriter being typed on. Silence. Tinnitus sucks. The sound of the VCR flap and mechanism taking a video cassette in/out. The squeak of bats. I can't hear that pitch so well anymore, and there are fewer bats flying around these days anyway. The Game Boy sound. Not sure, I can't hear it. But, this isn't marked, serious, so I do have a story. One time in middle school we had a sub for science class. He was well over the age of 70. For some reason, there was this weird, high-pitched noise during the independent work time. I think it may have been one of the LED light bulbs. Anyways, one of the kids complained about it, and we all agreed, it was annoying. The sub thought this was odd, he couldn't hear it. A few minutes later, it's still going and a different kid complains, why won't it stop? The sub gets mad at us, complains about us colluding to mess with him, promising us he'd tell our teacher that we made up a sound that didn't exist. The kids were confused why he couldn't hear it. I, as politely as I could, tell him we're all 13 or 14, maybe he just can't hear it because he's older than us. Now he's livid. As he's yelling at us for making up a noise that didn't exist and calling him old, a 25 or so year old person who worked in the office walks into the room and immediately looks confused. What's that noise? The sub muttered an apology under his breath. That's super loud quiet at 2 a.m. when you're half asleep in the middle row of the van, and dad stopped for gas somewhere in Pennsylvania. Sister and brother are asleep in the back, mom's got her head tilted back but you know she's awake. The dinging of the door opening with the key still in wakes everyone halfway. Mom asks quietly if anyone needs to use the bathroom. Nobody answers. Now if I stop for gas on the thruway at 2 a.m., I'm the one driving. That loud quiet is definitely gone. The original emergency broadcast system message and sound. Also, my hometown used to have a fire horn signal system. When there was a fire call, the horn sounded. Then a pattern of short and long gave a number that corresponded to the location of the fire. Then the short bursts following the number called for the number of trucks to respond. Anytime you heard more than 5 bursts, the family would pile into the car to go watch the fire burn, because it was guaranteed to be spectacular. Anytime there were more than 8 bursts, you could watch the fire from where you were standing. The one time there was more than 10 bursts, everyone took shelter in the basement. Shopping mall arcades. Wizard needs food, badly. The creaky spring and pogo sticks. The test tone on audio cassettes that you hear 10 seconds before the music starts. Kids playing in the street in the city and one of them yelling "Carrer" when a car is approaching. I'm sure this still happens somewhere but I don't see any kids playing in the street anymore. The instant message sound on AIM. The tortured wailing of the damned souls that facilitate the internet connection through a modem. Sit boo sit. Good dog. The dinner bell ringing at school. Nowadays it's just some sort of electric klaxon that makes us feel like prisoners released for rec time. Coal being dropped into basement chutes during the winter. The actual coins coming out of the slot machines. When I was little, on the weekends in the morning when things were quiet, I could hear the horses from the ranch in the hills above us neighing. Now the horses are gone, replaced by McMansions, and local traffic is so bad you wouldn't be able to hear them anyway. Anything above about 15 kHz. That sound your speakers made right before you were about to get a call on your cell phone. Random payphones ringing when you walk by. The crackle of an LP, record, when you first put the needle down on it as you wait for the music to start. A ringing telephone, and I mean a real bell with a real clapper, not some digital version. A TV being changed by the dial knob while mom shouts from the other room, change them one at a time or you'll wear it out. Radio static between channels. The buzz of a tube radio warming up. At the first of a show. Dick. A sonic boom. Used to shake the whole house when it happened. Haven't heard one in decades. In my time the internet came in over the phone, and it sounded like robots screaming. Okay, Grandpa, let's get you to bed. EA Games, challenge everything. Swoop. The tornado sirens at noon on the first Saturday of the month. Cars backfiring on the regular out there. Rotary dial telephone. The iPhone slide to unlock sound. The silver bell that Santa gave my brother. Must have broken years ago. A chorus of annual cicadas and trains in the distance at night. I grew up in a medium-sized town in the southeast US and that's what every summer night sounded like. Now I live in a bigger city in a more northern state and it's just cars and city noise at night. I miss it, it was the best white noise to sleep to. I had an older neighbor who would clang on pots and pans every New Year's. He did this until he was bedridden. I've never heard any other person strike quite the same level of gusto in beating cast iron with a meat tenderizer. Rest in peace, Terry. The scratchy static noise of a record between tracks. If you'd like to make a call, please hang up and try it again. If you need help, hang up and then dial your operator. This is a recording. Slamming drown the phone hard. Movie trailers that were narrated. Cicadas in high summer. My dad's voice. Waking up in the middle of the night too. All my friends know the lowrider. Factory whistles. Milkman's horse. The streetcar clattering and then screeching to a stop. Also, the clippity-clop of horseshoes clattering on the paving stones. The gas station across from my childhood house used to ding when someone got gas. I have such a vivid memory of being a little girl and laying in my mom's room with the windows open, and it's a beautiful summer day with the wind blowing in and spreading out on her cool bed sheets. Her bed sheets were this specific kind of silky smooth that felt so refreshing to lay on. It's such an insignificant thing, but I remember feeling true relaxation in those moments.